Hello everyone, welcome back to the May 28th Call of Duty DFS slate. Quickly, sorry for not having a video out yesterday. The slate just kind of stuck up on me and had a super busy week. And as you could tell by my lisp already, I did have some jaw work done and I'm wearing a brace right now. So it's not painful or anything to talk, it's just annoying and I will have a lisp, but it is what it is. We'll power through it. So we can quickly kind of go over the games that we missed yesterday. I did look at the slate a little bit ahead of time and have some thoughts on it. I think safe to say I probably would have had a pretty bad day. Looking at looking at everything that I was looking at beforehand. When I first saw this series, I probably would have been on the Paris side. Obviously, Toronto got the job done. Toronto's been looking a lot better lately. Maybe it is time to give them a little bit more credit, but I'm not sold on them quite yet. We still know Paris is struggling significantly, especially John and Jimbo. Temp didn't show up in this game, but John and Jimbo have been pretty lackluster lately. Jimbo did have a decent map 1, 39 and 32, but unfortunately did not do much in the other matches or the other games there. So Toronto got the 3-0. I probably would have been on the Paris side, so maybe we got a little bit of fortunate here that we maybe avoided this loss. Seattle, Florida. I'm honestly not sure what side I would have been on this one. I definitely think Seattle's a very inconsistent team, but high highs, low lows. I probably would have been on the Florida side, all things considered. I do think Florida was a better team. Obviously, Seattle got the job done. They did go to the Bocage, and Seattle got the job done. They won all the respawns. Florida won the search and destroy. Very atypical of what they've been doing lately. Florida typically wins the respawns, loses the search and destroys. So complete reverse there. Pretty good performance there from Seattle, especially Pred. He was really strong today. Not much from Florida to speak of, really. I think they were kind of let down a little bit, but we know Seattle's upside in ability. Then obviously the most interesting one on the day was Minnesota versus Atlanta. I can honestly say I might have been on the Minnesota side. I'm not sure. I wasn't loving Minnesota, but I definitely thought the odds and some of the stuff were a little misaligned. I definitely didn't feel like Minnesota is that far from Atlanta lately. Atlanta's low key kind of been slipping lately. I'm going to use that a little bit as we go talk about a series that we are talking about tomorrow. I was obviously a little surprised, like I think most people were, that Minnesota ended up getting 3-0. The maps weren't particularly close either. 250 to 140, 6 to 1, 3 to 1. Like they weren't particularly close. Really strong match from Attach, a little bit of help from Priesta, and then Standy and Havoc did their job well enough. Mainly what it came down to for Atlanta was our best play in Celium. Completely fell off the face of the cliff. Bad performance. I'm not going to be too harsh on FaZe, but I do think they are still a little bit overrated in that sense. So we'll kind of segue that into talking about tomorrow. So we are back with the 4-gamer here today on the Saturday slate as usual. To spare you guys a little bit of time, I honestly think I'm kind of just going to give out the kind of teams and why I like them and the players a little bit as well. I'm not going to go too in depth here. Just like I said, I'm wearing the brace and stuff. I don't want to talk too much, but I at least want to get a little bit of a video out and help you guys out who need it. So Atlanta FaZe LAG. Although Atlanta did lose yesterday, I obviously don't think they're going to be prone to losing again. Their prices are absolutely wild, so I definitely would not be against leaving off the FaZe side, except for R-Cities. I think R-Cities at 7.6 is fine. If we look at the team stats here quickly to get an idea of a pick and ban, that's kind of I think the most important thing. So we'll just look at that and then and go from there. So obviously FaZe is a 2-game losing streak, but to Minnesota, who's been looking really strong, and then Optic is obviously probably the best team in the league, but that's how it goes. LAG's respawns really poor. Atlanta FaZe's respawns have been pretty good, except for the last couple series, of course. The thing here is I expect LAG to go ahead and ban the Bocage just because it's one of their 2 bans. Although Atlanta FaZe hasn't been stellar on their Bocage, it's still something you probably just need to ban. LAG 0-4 on the Bocage. I would expect them to just ban that out. Another reason to kind of, I think, fade FaZe here. FaZe probably just, I don't know what they'd ban. Probably just the Tuscan. Because I don't think they're going to be scared of LAG's Berlin. So maybe FaZe go to the Tuscan. Maybe they're confident on it. I'm not sure. But I think either way, the Bocage will be banned from LAG. Atlanta is super, super expensive. I'm probably leaving them off except for when we go to except for when we look at RCs. I think RCs is fine at 7.6. I think they have good enough 3-0 chance. I think he can do enough. It's going to be a little bit risky, but you're hoping just try to get 100 points in there with the sweep bonus, and that'll be enough at 7,600, I think, to have him off as like a one-off or something like that. So that's why I'm fine leaving our cities in the player pool, but I'm probably going to leave the other three out of it. Again, price tag, all that stuff. I'm just not quite there with that one. So the next one up is Toronto, London. This one honestly feels a little weird to me. First glance, I definitely understand why the odds and like why this shift is happening so heavily towards Toronto. They have been looking much better lately, with London have not been looking that good either. So it definitely feels like London's on the way down, Toronto's on the way up. It definitely makes sense. I don't know if minus 285 makes a lot of sense. I do like Toronto. I do think that they've been better. It's kind of hard to go anywhere but Toronto here, but again, they haven't been outslaying much hard either. Their individual stats have not been great. If we look specifically, if we look at just like Major 3, I think that's what I'm going to set the, we are in the last couple of days of the Major 3, so I'm just going to set it to this, I think, to the stats, and we look at how Toronto's been playing. So they're 3-1. They won in this time frame. They've won 5 hard points, 1 control. So they're 6-5 in respawns. If we look at Toronto, they just have not been well individually. It's been a little bit of insight in Cammy. I do think they had their full roster back again yesterday, correct? I think, yeah. Scrappy just played the 1 match for Insight, so it should be the full regular 4, I believe, of Insight, Cammy, Bance, and Kleenex. The only 2 have been performing decently have been Insight and Cammy, and they're also super expensive, 96, 94. We know for London, they like to ban the Bocage. Again, it just feels tough to kind of try to justify these Toronto tags. These price tags here. I do think Bance can get there at 6.6. That's really cheap as well. He does have some potential upside. His numbers are not that bad. I definitely think it's fine. Again, he's in a similar vein to Arcides for me, except for maybe a little bit better. I'll probably pick Bance over Arcides, because, like I was saying, he's just a little bit cheaper. I think his stats are a little bit better. He does play that aggressive submachine gun role, so he racks up more points individually usually anyway. So I'm fine with going with Bance, probably a one-off. I might get up to Cammy and Insight. I'm not going to X them out quite yet. But it's tough. It feels like it's a kind of expensive price tag for them. I feel like London makes the game scrappy. I feel like they're going to be relatively close matches. I just don't see that much of upside there to Toronto. This brings us to the next one, Boston, LA Thieves. I'm honestly pretty surprised, looking odds-wise, that Boston is like a pick'em here. I believe they opened up as the underdog, as you guys could tell, because Boston is a +1.5, LA Thieves -1.5. I don't know why people are still kind of on LA Thieves here. Like, they had a decent run not too long ago, but then kind of fell off. I mean, I guess maybe in the quarterfinals of the Pro-Am, Boston did lose to LA Thieves. I don't love Boston here, but I just have not been impressed with LA Thieves, like, no matter what. I feel like they kind of got a little bit of inflated. Like a little bit of inflated skill level because they did like decently at the Pro-Am. They beat London here, then they got swept by Seattle and Minnesota. Like, I feel like it's the same LA Thieves team here. They just had like a little bit of a nice run, and that's all it came down to. I feel like Boston's been a little bit disrespected because they've lost to New York and Atlanta. 2 really strong teams, obviously. It's not it's not ideal to be swept by teams better than you, but I mean, LA Thieves did that as well. I mean, LA Thieves getting swept by Minnesota and Seattle's a lot different than losing to New York and Atlanta. So I still think Boston's a better team. I like their players a little bit more. I just feel like it, LA Thieves do have a little bit more upside. I just think Boston's a better team. I don't really understand the price tag or agree with it. I think Boston should win this a little bit more often than they're getting credit for. Um, I'm going Boston here. I'm gonna have a good amount of them probably. We kind of know the names from the Boston side, but we'll throw them in here as well. If we take off Toronto and Atlanta, we could look at exactly how Boston's been doing. TJ Hallie's been the better one. Then Capsule Methods has not been performing well lately, but granted they did lose a bunch. Like they're 1-3 here, so or they're 1-2 here. Their only win is against London. They got swept by Atlanta, lost to New York. So if we were to expand their stats a little bit, it would look a little bit better for Methods and Capsule. Maybe narrow there as well, but yeah, I just don't understand it. I really just don't. I feel like LA Thieves are still a little bit overrated. Boston probably better. I'll go with the Boston bounce back spot here. I like them a good bit. Capsule and Methods at 8-8 and 8-6. I like them a lot. TJ Hallie at 8. It feels a little tough. I feel like I'd rather have the value from somebody like a Bance or an R-Cities. I'd rather have TJ Hallie over R-Cities, I guess. But I feel like if you're going to have like somebody down there, I'd probably prefer Bance over TJ Hallie. But maybe if you're doing a 3-man stack, it's not the worst idea. Bocage chances are pretty pretty low. I can't imagine LA Thieves let it through. That's in their permaban. Boston are willing to play it. I expect LA Thieves to just go ahead and ban the Bocage. Boston probably ban probably the Tuscan, so we probably get a Gavutu Berlin. Those are not bad maps for LA Thieves. It's definitely something to keep in mind. Boston 0-1 on Berlin. LA Thieves 3-0 on Berlin. So something to keep in mind. I mean, it's a pretty decent map set for LA Thieves. I'm not going that way anyway, so I've already made my mind up. I'm just going to go with Boston here. I'm kind of surprised by the price tag there. Optic versus New York. So this is where my hot take and something I was alluding to a little bit earlier comes in. I'm kind of surprised that New York is this much of an underdog here against LA against Optic Texas, I should say. So if we look at their kind of match history here, so New York obviously won the Pro-Am. They beat LA Thieves, Toronto, Paris, London, and LA Thieves again. Not a stellar run, but pretty good. Obviously, they won the tournament, so you all you can do is beat whoever's in front of you. Atlanta FaZe they lost to. They lost to Toronto in a close match here. They beat Paris. They beat Boston. Like I definitely think this is a close matchup. New York specifically in those respawn game modes has been pretty strong, and I feel like Optic Texas has not been that great either. I feel like they're kind of getting a little bit too much fluff or kind of wind in their sails because of their win over Atlanta. And again, Atlanta just got swept by Minnesota, so Atlanta's not playing stellar right now either. I don't think Optic is that great. I should preface that with saying now that they have a stand-in. Like again, I did make the case for Optic over Atlanta, last week by saying they don't make that much of a difference with the stand-in. I agree. I still stand by that. But that was more of a Texas versus FaZe thing where Optic had beaten FaZe 4 times in a row before that. I didn't think it would change for the 5th time. Now we have a little bit of a different matchup. I just kind of agree with this price tag. I feel like New York is a good bit like a good chance to win this here. Their respawn game modes have been absolutely great. 13-3 in the hard points, 8-2 in the controls. Optic Texas is 8-5 in the hard point. It's definitely not better. Control only 5-3. I just feel like this is a close matchup. New York probably win this. I think like at least 40-45% of the time or something. Their price is a plus 162 underdog. Makes a lot of sense. I'm going with New York here. I just kind of don't see why New York is this much of an underdog. I definitely think Optic should be favored. They're probably the best team in the league. But I don't think they're significantly better. I don't think they're a minus 220 favorite over who I think is the second best team in the league. So I'm going with New York underdog here. I don't know how popular it'll be. I'm not sure. But I think New York is the second best team in the league. I don't think Optic is significantly better than anyone. We know how random the game can be. I just feel like New York's chances have been pretty good. I'll go with them as well. We obviously like their chances here for a good map set as well. New York don't ban the bocage. I don't know if Optic will go to the bocage because if we could see New Yorkers 6-0 on it. They've been trying to get on the bocage really hard. Maybe Optic want to play a little bit of spoiler in that sense and try to ban the bocage, but I think Optic is confident enough in their own bocage to go to that map. As well, I would expect New York to probably just ban the Berlin. As you guys can see, Optic are 3-1 on Berlin. New York is 3-2. That's their worst map statistically. Optic's best map statistically lately. So I could see Optic banning the bocage and putting New York on something like a Gavutu, where they're only 1-0 on it. So it's a possibility. I don't expect bocage to be too much of a matter here, but in terms of what map or in terms of what series could see the bocage, I think New York is definitely the most likely one. I expect LAG to ban it. I expect London to permaban it, and LA Thieves typically permaban it. So the only possibility I think is LAG with Atlanta, but it's pretty unlikely there. So out of all the series, I think Texas New York is probably the only one that has a chance to see the bocage. So I'm fine with locking and loading New York here. They're pretty underpriced, so you can definitely get in a lot of different builds here. Like I think going a balanced build with Boston and New York makes a lot of sense. Hydra 8-2. He might be really popular because his numbers might pop off the board at that cheap of a price tag. He's been one of the best performing players, I think, out of the whole league. I think he'd probably be like top 5. Dashy, Attach, Sib, Temp, Pro Loop, Pred. I guess he's kind of down there, but he's still one of the top players. Like kind of, regardless of how the numbers may look, he's a little bit better longer term. A few of these guys have bad numbers, like Scrappy, Illy, and Pro Loot. They probably should not count. So, if we removed his. So Hydra's been statistically the 7th best player in the league lately. He's super cheap at 82. It makes a lot of sense to go to him as well. So I like that direction. Again, most likely to see a bocage. I wouldn't count on it, but I don't want to 3-stack necessarily anyone here, I don't think. But I'm fine getting in Hydra, pairing him up with either Paul or Krim. Probably Paul. I think Krim has had a little bit of a poor performance lately. We can look at that. Major 3 qualifiers for New York. It's been Hydra and then Paul, then Kismet. Krim 6 have been down there. So it would be Hydra and Paul, maybe Kismet. Kismet may be the little bit of a interesting piece here because he's the most expensive player. He really shouldn't be, so that could be a little bit of a pay up to be contrarian option. I think there's maybe is a case to go Kismet, Hydra, Paul. I do think with bocage being an option, it could pay off. I don't know if you need to here though. So if we add all the teams here that we're kind of looking at, we'll add both of these events just to get a little bit decent sample size. We have Toronto, New York, Boston. We'll put it. I'm just not going to put Atlanta in my player pool at least. Again, we kind of talked about why I don't like all those options there. Hydra stands out for sure. Methods, Paul, Insight, Cammy, Capsule, maybe Tej. Probably wouldn't get to Krim. Bance is a good value. Kismet seems like a good value. I probably wouldn't get to Kleenex or Narrow, so I'm probably keeping my player pool pretty small. I don't think I'm going to make a ton of lineups. I might make 1, maybe 2, maybe 3. But if I do, I'm probably going to go New York, Boston, and probably leave it there. I guess, I kind of explained all my reasonings before. I like New York. I think there's bocage chance in that series. I like their upside potential here. Hopefully people aren't on them. I'm not sure where people are going to go. Maybe people chase the -900 phase. I'm not sure where people are going to go, but that's my player pool. I'm probably going to go Hydra, Kismet, Paul, Capsule, Methods, maybe Tej, Cammy, Insight, Bance is a value, and then maybe RCD is a value if I want to go that direction. So that'll be it for me today. So best luck to you guys tomorrow. Should have a video out for tomorrow for the Sunday slate. So best luck to you guys in this one, and I will see you guys then.